Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on this lesson. Um, the first thing we're gonna look at is some vocabulary words here. So a scatter plot is something like this, where you have your x-axis here. Okay, we call that the um, horizontal line, x coordinates, and then you have your y-axis here. Okay, and then on this graph, you have these different points. So the scatter plot just uses these data points. We'll call them data points, okay, to show relationship between two variables. So specifically, those variables are your x variable and then your y, okay? And we also call this um, a bivariate, okay, bivariate data. So data again is just information. In this case, the information that we see here are these points, and these points are formed because of two things. You have your x and your y. That's why we call this a bivariate data. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and label some of the scatter plot. We already did some. We did the y-axis, we have the x-axis. Um, so on the x-axis, this data right here, this variable, I should say, we call this the independent variable, okay? Independent variable, okay? And then which makes the y-coordinate your dependent variable, okay? We'll talk more about independent and dependent later, but just know that x is your independent and y is your dependent. All right, so, and then now there's a relationship that you can see on the scatter plot. Okay, in this case, you see that the points are all going up. Okay, so when you have points that kind of trend all in one direction and then they just keep going, we call that a positive relationship. You could also have a positive relationship, but the points could be going up, but they don't go up close together. Okay, they're kind of spread more apart like this. Okay, when you see something like this, well, let me tell you about this. This is called a strong positive relationship, and this one is a weak positive relationship. So this one's kind of weak because they're not as close together as this data. You could have data that is strong and it could may possibly look like this where it just goes straight up. Okay, it just goes straight up like this. Look at the pink dots right here. Okay, that's very, very strong because they form a perfect line. But this is also strong, the one in the blue. This is definitely weak. Okay. Also, likewise, you could have a negative strong relationship. So, for example, if you have something like this, they're going down. Okay. They're trending down like this. We call this a negative. And also, again, let me just show you that you could have data that goes straight down like this in the pink. This is definitely also a strong um, negative. Okay. All right. So same way a weak negative would be just they're trending down. Okay. They're trending down, but the data is not, it's kind of not close together. Okay. Actually, this looks a bit strong. Let me redraw this one. A weak negative would trend down, but just kind of far. The points are not close together. Okay. And then finally, you have node relationship where you have points that are just all over. You can't really tell if it's positive or negative. They're just like this. Okay? So this is a none. All right, let's go to the next page. So here's some questions. When you see a picture like this, you know you're looking at a scatter plot because you have your X, and you have your Y, and then you have points. So it says, say Ryan surveyed means like he asked some people questions and then they give him the answers and you turn those answers into these points. So he asked his peers at school, so his friends at school, to see how many hours they spent on their phones and how many hours they spent on schoolwork. So there's two things here, right? So let me go ahead and highlight it. The number of hours on their spent on their phones. So that's right here. So we'll use that as our X value. And then you have the how many hours they spent on schoolwork. So that goes here on the Y value. Okay. And so now he has these points. So let's see if we can answer some questions here. How many peers, so how many people did he survey? Did he ask? Well, since each one of these points represents an answer to one of his friends, that means he did one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 people. So he surveyed 9 people. Okay, so those are just the number of points. What is the relationship? Well, the relationship is negative, okay, because it's going down. And then basically, this is saying that it looks like the hours spent on the phone, as it increases, the scores decreased, right? The not score, sorry, the number of hours they spent on school decreased. So let me type that up for you. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video and type it. Right? So, and then the last question says, what is a good guess for how many hours someone spent on their schoolwork? So it looks like we are looking for their schoolwork. So we're looking at for the Y value if they spend 9 hours on their phone. So they spend 9 hours. Nine is around here between 8 and 9. So it looks like it would end up somewhere over here, right? It's going down, it goes a little up. So I would say between 2 and 4, or maybe between 2 and 3. So I'm just going to say between 2 and 3. Okay. 2 hours and 3 hours. I could also say 4 hours because it could kind of go up there as well. So, all right, let me just go ahead and say that. So between 2 and 4 hours. Okay, so if you pick any number between that, you'd be good. You just can't pick anything that's like way off. Like if you pick somewhere like 10 or 8, that's gonna throw the data off. Okay? All right, next set of questions. It says, a scatter plot below shows the relationship between the number of cups of coffee consumed in the morning. So you drink coffee, so you either drink 1 cup, 2 cups, three, four, 5, or 6. I drink only 1 cup, but I know people drink like 5 or 6 cups. And the other data is exam grade. So that morning, depending on they asked the person how much coffee did you drink and what was your grade on the exam. This is the data that we got. What is the relationship? Well, I don't think there's any relationship. There is no relationship. So I'm just going to say none. Okay? There's no relationship here. What is the x value of part of point A? So point A is here. So x value is always down here on the horizontal axis. So the x value is 1. So they did 1 cup of coffee um, and they got a grade of 50%. Okay, what does this mean? Exactly what I said. So this point means that this person drank 1 cup of coffee. Okay, so that's that. All right, another scatter plot. So the scatter plot below shows the relationship between temperatures outside and the popsicle sales. Okay, so it looks like as the temperature went up, the number of popsicles sold also went up. So it's definitely positive relationship. And what I just said here, I'll type it up for us. Um, so basically, it's saying that as the temperature, let me do this. Okay, so it says that, sorry guys, one second. All right, so um, as the temperature went up, the sales of the popsicle also went up. What is the unit of measure? So unit of measure just means for the independent variable is written in Fahrenheit. Oops, it's written in Fahrenheit. Okay, and then the popsicle is the dependent. The one on the y-axis is written in dollars, basically money. Okay. All right, so that's the first lesson, y'all. Thanks for watching.